Good evening, everybody on the Hardy Oak Elementary School Special Education Team. I am recording because we were not able to meet this week, so you are required to watch this presentation by Monday, April 20th at the close of business and complete the exit ticket that I will send you via email, and that will be your evidence that you sat through this meeting. It is not clear whether or not you can see me because I've had a lot of technological issues, so I do apologize for that. However, you should be able to get approximately 35 minutes of good information here. So the agenda that we will follow. Let me just go into it. Is the introduction, which I just did, information about virtual recaps of district special education GLC meetings, dyslexia updates, transition and family engagement updates, compliance updates, and curriculum updates. Then we will talk about PD updates, appraisal updates, CPI training dates for the summer. Saying my camera is blocked. I'm not sure why nor how to fix it, so I'm just going to continue recording it with at least the audio. CPI training dates, early childhood special education updates, levels of support by setting, and frequently asked questions. Virtual recaps. Every month after we have our special ed district level, grade level chair meeting, they have a virtual recap the following Monday. So I'll click on the presentation here for you to see. We only have 2 left for this school year. We have one on Monday, April 20th, and another one on Monday, April 18th. If you wish to attend, I highly encourage it because you do get some of the information that I will be providing you with tonight in this presentation represented, and there is a lot to process. So you just come to this flyer, which is linked in the presentation. You click on the date, and elementary, which is us, meets from 3:30 to 4 p.m. Dyslexia updates. Dyslexia programming is going to change significantly in the 2026-2027 school year, in that our trained dyslexia coaches will go back into a general ed or special education teaching position that they had prior to getting that certification. And the campus training for special education teachers will occur in the 26-27 school year. We are obviously not a bilingual campus. We are a monolingual campus. So the administrators will choose one special education teacher. So one of us who is currently teaching reading resource, more than likely to train in the program called RBD, which is what will be used to teach students with dyslexia diagnosis who qualify for the service. So the programming, everyone will be expected to use RBD with monolingual dyslexia students. And you cannot use iReady in place of that, as iReady is a resource program. If for some reason the student is getting both, resource and dyslexia services, it is imperative that they get the RBD instruction during dyslexia services and iReady during resource. So that should be the exception rather than the rule, unless the student has a secondary diagnosis in addition to dyslexia. So the required service time, as it needs to be documented in our IEPs and SameGoal software, is 45 minutes, 5 times per week. Any student that has direct dyslexia services that state 30 minutes 5 times will require a revision to their schedule page to reflect 45 minutes 5 times. And that's for any other frequency other than 5 times and any other time other than 45 minutes. Per the Dyslexia Handbook Guidance, pages 76 through 77 and 84, the ARD Committee should only consider deviations from program fidelity requirements when data clearly indicates a need for individualized modifications. An ARD Committee cannot create its own type of SDI if the evidence-based dyslexia program is inadequate. So at this point, the district is still in the process of creating additional guidance to support campuses who have students with dyslexia diagnoses like we do. Any further questions you have regarding this, please direct towards our administrators or to Derek Gordon, our program coordinator. Transition and family engagement updates. Unfortunately, a lot of my links did not correctly link to the presentation, so I'm going to go back to the intro. Here I have this document, which I'm also going to have to share with you separately. It is basically an agenda, like the monthly agendas, or bi-monthly agendas we use for our in-person special ed team meetings, with everything correctly hot linked in there. I'm just going to pull up the transition support and family engagement updates here. We have weekly transition and family engagement office hours in our district every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Parents can click on this link if you share this, where it says join here, if you share this electronic flyer with them from 3 to 4. With regards to transition services, we don't do a lot of it at the elementary level, but I do recommend that Okay, I'm not sure why my camera's privacy switch is on. Again, I apologize for the fact that you cannot see me, but this is the 6th and 3rd piece of technology I have used to try to record this video, so it's just going to be an audio recording rather than a video, and I do apologize for that. Anyway, our Liz Harbort is our transition specialist for the Reagan cluster. I do recommend that you tell families to get on the wait list for the transition services for when our students reach post-high school age, because there is a 15-year waiting list for those services, and the likelihood of them actually getting them when they reach of age is greatly increased if they're on that waiting list. Liz is here at our campus, as you are probably aware, at least twice a month. She's very good about teamsing everybody to inform them that she is on campus and sharing pertinent resources. Okay, I'm going to continue with my recording. The Google Meet was just making sure I was still here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Any Baby Can, which is an organization here in San Antonio that our district has partnership. ABC does stand for Any Baby Can, but it also stands for other acronyms within that are driven to the mission of this organization. Any Baby Can provides services for families and children with youth facing serious health or developmental challenges. They are the sponsors of the Walk for Autism, which is an official Fiesta event and happens actually this weekend on April 18th at 2026. The A in Any Baby Can stands for any, but it also stands for autism services. Kids do not need a formal autism diagnosis to receive these services, only if somebody suspects their child might have autism or if they have autistic qualities. Bereavement navigation provides support to parents who have experienced the tragic loss of their infant, child, or teen. C is for case management, provides services to families with kids with special health care needs. I will be providing you with contact information if you want to relay this organization to any of your families who you case manage for. Compliance updates. I'm going to share the compliance updates. Presentation with you from today's district GLC meeting. The end of year checklist I'll be sharing at our next meeting in May. We need to make sure that we initial and complete the pertinent spots on that checklist by the 28th of May, 2026. We only have a couple of kids that we're referring to extended school year this year as a campus, but for those friends, please make sure you create a new transportation request form in Same Goal and submit it by May 1st, 2026. Please use the request and start date both as June the 8th, 2026, as that is the first day of ESY services. If you have kids currently that receive door-to-door transportation and are going to need it for next school year, by May 28th, we need to create a new request form and use the request date and start date as the first day of school, which for us is August 17th, 2026. PASIV is only applicable really to Bianca because it's only for students ages 3 through 5, all of whom are pre-K. We no longer do it for kindergarten, so I'm not going to say too much because as the speech pathologist, she's aware of what needs to do. The guidelines are here for your reference. We don't get too many kids who get services outside of speech at our campus for pre-K because they go to the early childhood special ed campus over at Los Lomas if that's the case. High school is not us. Requisition deadline. So I did ask people to give me feedback for this and nobody really had anything, but I'm not overly concerned because tomorrow is the deadline, but it's really to ensure that any curricular pieces for special ed get ordered by the end of this school year. Any requisitions received after April 17th will be processed for the 2026-2027 school year. And we have to share both any for this year and next year with Derek. Previous year inventory lists also need to be emailed. We just need to verify that the information on the list are correct. I will be resharing that with you by tomorrow morning at the latest. Edit currently listed items and add new items received for this year. All SPED related materials and equipment purchased for the campus or students, such as the ALE curriculum, which is unique, any fidgets, technology, beanbags, equipment. And then I will be forwarding this to both Derek and Rachel Cullen. Same Goal super user. Recorded webinar for users that want to go beyond the basics with Same Goal is linked here. and it covers tips and tricks to streamline daily workflows, bulk printing, print from document history filters, lesser known features that we are probably not using, such as bank values, bank auto substitutions, sharing and transfer documents, requesting document access, and bulk share. Troubleshooting advice for common challenges such as report filters, deadline calendar, and deadline tabs. And there's also some suggestions for how to avoid frequent mistakes. I'm going to go back to my slides. Okay, so just to recap, so far I have reviewed the agenda, the introduction, the virtual recaps, dyslexia updates, transition and family engagement updates, as well as some information about Any Baby Can, ABC, compliance updates, and now we're going to move into curriculum and instruction updates. I will have more for you on curriculum and instruction updates in May. End of year diagnostics window for iReady. We're going to push out the end of year diagnostics for all. Again, that's what you're supposed. iReady is what you use for all your resource kits. Those diagnostics need to start on the 27th of April because we want to give some of our STAR testing students a little bit of a testing break. Here's some links for diagnostic supports for iReady and math and reading. This is just giving you proctor guidance and guide checklists. We don't really have any students who'd be taking iReady in Spanish. There's just a checklist for preparing for the end of the year diagnostic and ways you can track students rushing, completing, or if the test has expired during the end of year. Administering the diagnostic, and then Padlet, which is just preparing for the diagnostic. And I know we do a lot of testing, and that iReady is something that is really pushed by our district, but I will tell you it is used nationwide and it is research-based. And if you didn't have the opportunity to work with Michelle, our curriculum and instruction for SPED program coordinator this year, I encourage you to work with her or whoever is assigned to our campus next year to find ways to use iReady both as a technological and paper-based assessment, because we don't want kids just clicking buttons on every time we pull them for resource and not doing anything else. PD for SPED staff, the Department of Special Education PDs for your SPED. For us, the flyer links to program include direct links to Eduphoria to enroll in the courses offered. This slide, which you will have access to as well as the other one, just has all of the actual courses. You can also see them through Eduphoria if you log into Eduphoria and go to the ClearPath. Accommodations and modifications roadshow. We have completed all three parts of this as a campus, but there's a few things that I still want to review. Okay, these are just the people, the school, the campuses that haven't done it yet. Again, we're not on there. Go us. Goalbook. I encourage you to log into Goalbook frequently. I know a lot of us are very well versed in writing specific, measurable, attainable, research-based, time-bound IEP goals, also known as SMART goals. But if you have to write for a content area or grade level that you're not as familiar with, Goalbook does have a lot of really good stems in there. It is a costly resource, so we want to make sure we're utilizing it to continue to justify the the district renewing their subscription, but also there's a lot of other resources for IEP related questions that you can use it for if you feel like your goals are consistently well written and authentically compliant. We don't have any new teachers on our SPED team who's new to the district. We're all returning, but if you know anybody who is new to the district or just new to being a special ed teacher in our district, they can sign up for this. They actually are required to sign up and participate in this new teacher cohort training, and they do get a lot of teachers' choice hours for attending it. Elementary summer school. Elementary summer school or extended school year is being held June 8th through July 2nd, 2026, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. These are the school sites that will be hosting. Our school site, if I'm not mistaken, is Colonial Hills. These are the people who will be serving as the summer site principals. We have Anna Linda Garza, Monica Del Pozo, Christine Rosted, Bianca De Leon, Bethany Thompson, and John Purcell. If you're interested in working and you haven't already applied, please go to the website and do so. I also encourage emailing these principals directly. This is not applicable to us because it is for secondary students. And that is really all I have for curriculum and instruction and professional development at this time. So I'm going to go back to my presentation for a moment. Professional development was already addressed. So now we have some appraisal updates that I need to go over with you. Okay. I'm not sure why. Oh, okay. I have to log in. Not sure why that's happening. I apologize for yet another delay. End of year timelines. Any consents that we are getting from parents, and again, the only person who is allowed to get parental consent to evaluate are the appraisal staff, who are the LSSPs and or the diagnosticians. Through the end of the year will be due next school year, so that does give us a little bit of a time window that we weren't expecting, so that's positive. For all initial evaluations, ARDS will be due on the 30th calendar day following the report. If, for example, the 30th day falls in the summer, because the FIE was completed in mid-May through June 30th, the ARD must be held before the 15th school day of the 2026-2027 school year. So just do the math. As I stated earlier, August 17th, 2026 is the first day back for students. So within 15 school days, you will need to hold the ARD in those cases. 3 is an early childhood special education setting that's not really is not really relevant to our campus. If you must request a reevaluation for a currently served student, we're going to use the 45-day school day timeline due date. So requesting testing at this point in the school year should be pretty rare. If for some reason you have to do it, please try to schedule all 3-year reevaluations due through October before the end of this year, which gives you a pretty small window, especially if the student is changing campuses. So in our case, that would be any 5th grader who's up for reevaluation who's going on to middle school. Indicator 11 is just what TEA uses to audit our how compliant our paperwork is in same goal. So basically they're counting the little red dots that are indicated in same goal when a document has expired or past due. Unfortunately, the current report, which was run on April 9th of 2026, indicates that we currently have 83 late initial evaluations or ARDs, but so a lot of these are mistakes, and our appraisal team are reviewing the late indicator report for cases at our campus and researching any that are listed. The compliance team at the district level is fixing some that are truly errors, because there are a significant number that are, and there are other cases that were late without the evaluator or campus realizing it, and these will require revision ARDs and the proposing of compensatory services to those students affected. Not sure why that is blank. This slide is supposed to include some reasons why this happened. Fortunately, I have most of it memorized. It can be because we don't take attendance till 9:15 in the morning, and a student may be absent or late and they just weren't counted. Also, the evaluator might have went to pull the student, not realizing that they had a field trip that day. They were absent for a doctor's appointment or another school. There was another school-related business, such as an assembly or award ceremony that was taking place. That is it for appraisal updates. CPI training updates. I'm going to pull up that document that includes those dates. If you need a refresher or are joining our crisis team and need your initial CPI certification, you will have an opportunity to sign up for some courses being offered in June. I'm just currently looking for that document as I speak to you. I'm going to share this. June 10th, 8 to 11:30 with an hour lunch, followed by 12:30 to 4. There will be a refresher. Again, that's for anybody who is currently CPI trained, but will be expiring within the next 6 months. Another refresher will be held on the 17th of June from 8 to 11:30 with an hour lunch, 12:30 to 4. And then one initial is being offered in the month of June, June 24th, 8 to 4 o'clock. Ms. Jackie Erickson is the trainer who hosts all of these sessions. They're all held at Piper Bass, and you need to click here to sign up. If her documentation shows that you're past due the refresher, you'll be kicked out and you'll have to do an initial. She's also requested a couple of training dates in July, but they haven't been approved yet. Once they've been approved and she shares them with us, I will share them with you. ECSE updates. I don't have a ton for you for ECSE updates. We only have 2 students that will be coming to kindergarten who are zoned for our campus, who are currently in pre-K early childhood special education over at Las Lomas. Brady has graciously agreed to go and observe them and learn a little bit more about them. I have some basic information, but I do not yet have access to their current evals or their current IEPs. However, I've shared the pertinent information with the principal, the assistant principal, the speech language pathologist, and our LSSP, because they will be coming up for reeval because they both have a primary diagnosis of non-categorical, which expires on their 5th birthday. So let me just pull up the ECSE instead. Again, this doesn't impact too many people. We're not sure who the kindergarten case manager is going to be in the fall yet, because admin has not assigned grade levels to us on the SPED team yet. So I'm just going to share it with everybody for now. Total ECSE students continue to grow every year. As of February 2026, there were 375 ECSE students. While ECSE students continue to rise, general education pre-K numbers are not, making co-teach classrooms there's not really a need for co-teach. As of March 2026, 17 of 33 co-teach classrooms have more special ed students than general ed students, which is not an effective ratio. Simply put, we've outgrown the cluster model, which they just put in place a little while ago. So if you look here for ECSE, where the Reagan cluster, Las Lomas is going to continue to be our campus along with Stone Oak, but they're opening one at Wilderness Oak as well. And Canyon Ridge will continue to serve as Canyon Ridge and Tuscany Heights. Here's a map just showing where these campuses are, just for your reference. And that's it. That's all I really have to share with ECSE at this point. Levels of support by setting. So I'm going to pull up that document if I can actually find it right now. This is the March meeting. Here it is. Perfect. So this document was created. Oh, no, that's not it. This was the Google form I had to fill out. All right, so basically I will share it with you separately, but there was a document that was created as a guideline for people back in 2022. As far as how a student qualifies for the specific service and the levels of support that they qualify for. However, it uses dated language that we're no longer using and isn't aligned with the language that's used in Same Goal, which is our IEP software. For example, they still have instructional facilitation on there. We don't use instructional facilitation. We use inclusion with accommodations only. So the feedback I gave when they asked us to give them feedback on it was to change the language so it is actually aligned to what it says in Same Goal, so people aren't getting confused and inadvertently programming incorrectly for our special ed students in Same Goal. There's also some discrepancies between what is considered a tier 1 versus a tier 2 versus a tier 3 intervention. And that criteria has changed. So I requested that be updated on that form. Frequently asked questions. This is just a running document that the district uses that I'm just showing you right now. It has just very specific questions that would not be answered by looking at any of our compliance resources and documents in the special ed guidance button in our Launchpad. So just to give you an example of an elementary school specific question, when sharing documents with parents and guardians from Same Goal, once we share it with them and send it, do they automatically get the document, or do we need to reshare and send a second time? So the department response is, if the document has been amended, it has to be reshared. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I am going to take a few minutes just to allow you to review it, again, to see if any of these very specific questions apply to you. I'd also just like to point out that there were questions that may not have previously been applicable that may be applicable to you now from the 24-25 school year. So that document is also linked here. Sometimes they'll just, instead of typing a response, they will link a document like the ARD process guide here. Where can I find the professional statement that needs to be read before an ARD? That's not something that we specifically are worried about. We have copies of it in our conference room where all ARDs are held, and it is always read by an administrator. The exit ticket, again, I'm not going to link it here because none of my links are working. I will send it to you in a separate email. It will simply be, just so you know what to expect, a Google Doc with no more than three multiple choice questions that can be answered with somewhere within this presentation that I gave. And I will be checking it probably not till after. It is, the expectation is you complete it by April 20th, 2026. Full transparency, I probably won't be reviewing it to see who on our team completed it and who it's still outstanding till Wednesday, April 22nd, after our second round of STAR testing is complete. See you at field day tomorrow. Thank you for all you do and have a wonderful evening.